All right. Welcome, everybody, to another week of draft previews. This week we got third-year owner Adrian and the Age Crew, and we also have Brian and Randall Flag Football. I'm excited to see how these two shake out.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the teams, I think they're complete opposites. Obviously, it's two different leagues, but I think they're in completely different situations than what they are. I think as we'll see why with the keepers and the pick wise. Um, I mean, looking at Adrian, I think he's going to have a tough road ahead for right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think for Adrian, he joined a really shitty team 2 years ago. Kind of same situation as Norm, and I ended up with both in my division. That's awesome. But you can see 500 career 13-13. So yeah, nothing else to report really on his report card.
Yeah, I mean, he's 13-13, obviously batting 500, 13th overall. I mean, there's a lot of 13s on there, which is not good in the LOC.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, his best finish was last year. He was 10th overall, so I mean, he's obviously improving each year. But I mean, when we look at his keepers, I think he's kind of in a situation where he needs to make trades. But when we look at his picks, he doesn't have the picks to make the trade. So, I mean, I know with last week we kind of said Norm might be in trouble. Looking at Adrian, I think he might be in trouble.
I think he could be too. And if you recall, 2 years ago, Norm took over a team, and I think he was picking first pick was in the 8th round, and for Adrian, his first pick was in like round 13 or something crazy.
Yeah,
and he still did okay, which was kind of odd to see. So it just goes to show you it doesn't really matter how bad your draft pick situation could be. But I still think you're right. He could be in trouble. And a lot of it is based on that schedule, too. I see a lot of losing records against the teams he's facing, and that could spell trouble.
Yeah, he plays me. I finished 6th last year. He plays you. Life's a Midge. He has a winning record against Fighting Geese, but I mean, I always a big fan of Sue's. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a bye week for her. I mean, he has a losing record against Templars. He has a winning record against Canadian guy, but I think at this point, it'd be a crapshoot. He plays Green Lightning. He plays Storm. Plays Swahino. I don't like his record, his schedule this year. I think it's going to be pretty tough for him to win, 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I think it's he might be on like that, shaky water of, oh no, am I one of those teams that could fall?
Yeah, for sure, 100% there. Yeah, I mean, looking at his keepers, he has Kareem Hunt, he has Fournette, he has McLaren, Claypool, Thielen, and Lukin. I mean, he is keeping some running backs, which I always think is a great strategy. But I mean, they're both not the number. Well, I mean, I guess Fournette would be the number one running back in Tampa, but it's Tampa. He's still going against Ronald Jones. Hunt, I mean, he's the RB2. I mean, and Claypool, I mean, is he really the wide receiver 2, or is he more like a wide receiver 3? Obviously Thielen. I mean, it's Thielen. He's going to get you some points each week.
Yeah, I agree. It's shaky ground at keeper too. I mean, I like McLaurin, but Claypool, I see sophomore slump there. All spelled written all over him. And you're right about the running backs. They're not, bell cows. So be in serious trouble, especially when we see the picks here.
Yeah, looking at the picks, he does not have a first round pick. I mean, he has 2. He has a 2nd, a 3rd, no 4th, and then he has 1 pick, 5, 6, and 7th, no 8th. He has a 9th and a 10th. And honestly, with those keepers, he needs a first round pick to be competitive. He needs a bell cow running back, or he needs something there, or another wide receiver at least. He's not going to he'll get an okay wide receiver running back round 2, but it's not going to help his chances.
Yeah, I agree. Adrian, you could wait 10 minutes to log in before you pick, because you don't pick till picks 37. That's a wait before you can even get anyone half decent. So yeah, you're right. 7 picks in the first 10 rounds is not a recipe for success. And I don't know what he can do to improve.
No, I mean, I don't know who he's, dropping, but he needs to figure out something there. Yeah, I mean, looking at his 11th through 20th, I mean, he does have 2 14s, 2 15s. But again, I mean, they're mid round. He's taking flyers there. He's not really taking anybody who's going to really help his team. I mean, maybe he'll be able to get some good IDPs. who might be able to put up some points, but I mean, they're going to be the IDPs who might give you 10 points one week, and next week they might get you 1 point. So I mean, I think it's going to be hard for them this year.
Yeah, I think it will be too, but it could be worse. 7 picks in the first 10. I've seen a lot worse situations before. And it's interesting because him and Norm are in the same division, which means they do have to play each other.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the game that decides last place.
It might be. It honestly might be. Yeah, moving on to his the later rounds, he has 221, 322s, but again, they're crapshoots there, going talent wise, nothing to write home about.
No, and he's going to have to find some good picks there in the Mr. Irrelevant rounds, though, if he's going to have to find a winning record this year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% there. I mean, my final thoughts are, for if I were him, I would be trying to make some kind of trades. I don't think I really, seen him on Discord. I think he needs to become more active and, actually try to do something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see him on there once in a while, but definitely not active enough to swing any deals anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Now switching over to your brother, who changed his name. And can you remind me if I remember correctly, but wasn't he the one who used to complain about us changing our names every year?
Absolutely. He was the guy. And, it makes it more interesting now that he's changing the name. We have a trophy in this league now. And what if he changes his name every year? Nobody will even really know if he won multiple titles because he changed the name every year. So
yeah, I agree, which is kind of funny. Moving on to his record, he's 13-13. He went 7-6 last year, 6-7 previous year. It's 500. No playoffs. I mean, switching off of that, going to his keepers. I mean, I'm kind of surprised he was 7-6 last year. I mean, he has Rodgers. I mean, he has Darnold, but I mean, who cares? His running backs, he has Akers, Mixon, Jacobs. I assume that's Miles Sanders. His wide receivers are pretty good. Metcalf, I don't know why AJ Brown is there. AJ Brown, he has AJ Brown, Ridley. His tight ends, he has Goddard, Disley. I mean, Disley is like, if he can stay healthy, he's a pretty good running tight end there. He has decent keepers. I'm surprised he was 7-6 last year.
yeah, I think his team's really good. If you look at Brown, Metcalf, and Ridley on most boards, those guys are 3 of the top 10 receivers in the NFL for fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, even the starting 3 at running back, Mixon should be a bell cow this year. They're saying Akers could be as well. Jacobs and Sanders a little bit different. And then obviously he's going all in with Rodgers. He put all his chips in and traded a quarterback and a wide receiver to get him. So yeah, I think Brian is definitely in win now mode, and he is definitely more in win now mode because of the draft lottery.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Out of all the winners of the draft lottery, I think he won the most. I mean, he moved up to 3rd overall. He was going to pick, I think, 9th or 10th, whatever it is, but he's picking 3rd. I know we all know who he kind of wants. We all believe he wants Kyle Pitts. Honestly, though, I might try to move back if I were him. I mean, he has the players. He doesn't really need a tight end, even though he thinks he does. I mean, Goddard's going to catch some passes. I think Disley is going to be pretty good as well. I mean, his wide receiver 5 is Tim Patrick, which is pretty damn good for a wide receiver 5. I mean, his running back 4 is Miles Sanders. I mean, why not just try to get better? Or, instead of taking Pitts, maybe take a flyer on the dude from the Jags who might play wide receiver, might play running back. Or trying to trade it to somebody like Suze who wants needs a quarterback and get more picks or higher picks. Build that depth out instead of taking one guy who he might be the best player of the draft, but if you get the 2nd and 3rd best player of the drafts as well, I mean, that's just as good or even better. So I mean, I would honestly be trying to wheel a deal if I were him, especially in the win now mode versus just taking Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I think it's tough because when you look at his lineup, though, it looks like the clear weakness is tight end. And, Pitts really does fill that need. And, I think the only way he couldn't pick Pitts at 3 is if maybe you didn't pick Najee Harris at 2, just because Najee Harris is just going to be a huge part of that offense, obviously, in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, I don't know if trading is the right thing because, like you say, Pitts looks like a tight end prospect that really, we haven't seen in a long time. And it's clear Julio's gone. They're
Mhm.
really just waiting till after June 1st. And then, we'll see Pitts getting a ton of targets there, short range targets from Matty Ice too. Because let's face it, you've had Matty Ice in fantasy.
Mhm.
It's dying, just like a lot of these other older quarterbacks we saw with Philip Rivers, etc. So, but I think Brian's in a great spot. And, I think he'll definitely make the playoffs this year for the first time in his history.
I agree. I agree with you 100% there. I mean, the only reason I say trade it out because he could probably, he's going to get a decent wide receiver, a decent running back, and probably a first rounder as well. So, I mean, he's going to build that depth out. The only thing that scares me with Pitts in general is, and it's dynasty. That's the only reason I bring it up. If this was the LOC, I wouldn't really care. Is will he trade? Will he change positions? Will he go from a tight end to a wide receiver in 5 years to get that more money? Because obviously it's all about making money in the NFL, and who's to blame them, especially getting hit and coming across the middle. I would change my position to wide receiver in year 3, year 4. But I mean, hey, it's all about perspective, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's face it though. He was 9th place, so he was, the best team out of all the teams that didn't make the playoffs, and he has 3rd pick. So clear lottery winner. And it's cool talking dynasty. Me and you were talking about it beforehand, and me and you were in trade discussions today, and I honestly think I almost made a bad move today, and I got to thank Danny and Billsy Bobs for talking me out of trading Deshaun Watson to you today. But you're right, dynasty, such a great different strategy involved. And for Brian, he has a prime opportunity here to make this team a good one for, years to come. And it's all about building a dynasty. So
Yeah, 100%. But if you want to make that trade, feel free to send me the offer.
I'll change my
All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you. I'll talk to you next week, and we'll talk more draft previews next week.
All right, sounds great, man.
Have a good one.
You too.